Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Presently, for my own sadhana, I am reading the condensed version of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. How many of you have read this before? Good. If you haven't, please do so. At the beginning, the condenser, the documenter, he's known as M, just a single letter because his name's not important. Sri Ramakrishna's name's important. He writes, this is part of it. To the devotees of Ramakrishna in all parts of the world, reflectors of his godliness, bearers of his universal message, and my unfailing inspiration. That is a lovely purpose that M has. It is a lovely presence that M feels. And I'm sharing this with all of us because M, whose role model is Sri Ramakrishna, M should be our role model. In Meaningful Mornings, I feel we very much increase the rigor of our standard. That our role models don't have to be athletes and politicians and professionals. Our role models are to be those whose purpose is divinity, only divinity. I completed my day yesterday at our ashram in Niagara Falls, speaking to the Kerala community of Niagara. They call themselves Tapasya. They want to be associated with our ashram, so they asked me to speak on the importance of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And they're new to me, I'm new to them, so I resorted to keeping the message simpler. This is what I shared with them. The Bhagavad Gita's message is, sequentially, number one, right action. For all of us, that portion is karma yoga. Right action is not enough, so this is to be refined to the right action with the right attitude. For us, that labeling is bhakti yoga. And that too is not enough. This has to be refined to the right action with the right attitude, with the right atma. What is your center? It is not the mind, intellect, ego, but rather the spirit. For us, jnana yoga. Zooming in to the right attitude, or bhakti yoga. This means to love divinity. Another word for this, to be devoted to divinity. Another word for this, to depend on divinity. Prince Arjuna, he wants to depend on divinity. He feels this is only possible if he sees divinity. And that makes sense. If we can see it, it's more natural to depend on this. That does apply mostly to the secular. If I can see that my headlights work, I'm more comfortable to drive at night. But in terms of the sacred, that which is important, like love and faith and so on, you can't perceive that. This is beyond the sense organs, body, and so on. Chapter 10, the theme is Vibhuti Yoga. Please understand, it is Vibhuti for yoga. Sri Krishna is going to show Prince Arjuna how to see divinity But that's not the ends. This is a means for him to feel divinity with his eyes closed. In a couple of weeks, I'm facilitating a workshop for the city of Ottawa. They have like 17,000 employees. So I'm facilitating a workshop called The Foundation of Diversity is Unity. There's so much messaging about diversity, and we can get lost in that. Not understanding and appreciating that's a means and not the ends. The ends is the unity, the yoga. This portion on right attitude, bhakti yoga, reminding all of you of the one-word themes I've been giving you. There's lots, but I've been trying to summarize this in one word. Chapter 7, internalization. Chapter 8, intensification. Chapter 9, integration. This I've already shared with you. Chapter 10 is pervading. Pervading. This is the one-word theme in addition to all else that has been shared. This is important to note because with the verse we're about to begin, this will complete half of chapter 10. With the verse we're about to begin, this is verse 1 of 18 verses, where Sri Krishna points out how to see divinity, the pervading, the vibhuti. And I'm not going to get tired of sharing again and again and again. This is the means, not the ends. If chapter 10 is the means, then chapter 11, as if, is the ends. Verse 21. Adityanam aham Vishnuhu Jyotirsham Ravir Amshuman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam aham Shashi. In each of these verses, each quarter is specifying a different facet of this multiverse that is the greatest. Each quarter, 18 verses, puts us at around 72 examples, 72 ways to train ourselves that amongst the great, this is the greatest. Quarter 1. Adityanam, which means amongst the children of Aditi. Aham, what is the greatest? Shri Krishna is using the word aham. This is me amongst them. Vishnu. Here, Vishnu means Bhagwan Vamana. Amongst the children of Aditi, the greatest is Bhagwan Vamana, who is an earlier incarnation of Sri Krishna. I had shared with all of you before that these sections of verses are better appreciated if you have a sense of our itihasa, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puranas, like Srimad Bhagavatam. So all of you who study with me on Sunday, I've prepped you for more than 200 hours for these sets of verses. Next quarter, Jyotisham, which means amongst sources of Jyoti or lights, luminous bodies. Amshuman, that which radiates. I am Ravihi, which means the sun. Amongst all those that shine, the greatest is the sun. I am going to try to share some insights from our history and from our educational texts, so this becomes more relatable, more practicable. What we can learn from the sun is an icon of not being dependent. It takes up so much water and then lets go of that water. It is not affected by that water. Now, a lateral thought to this, please reflect on this a lot. The less dependent one is, the less partial one is. See, all of us would be quick to say, yeah, I'm not dependent. But if you reflected on yourself, would you also describe yourself as not being partial? Do you have favorites? Do you have likes? Do you treat certain people better because they treat you better? If the answer is yes, then you are dependent. And so how we can be like the sun is to share. The more you share, the less dependent you are, the less you care who you're sharing with. That partiality is dismantled. Continuing, Marichihi marutam asmi. Marutam means amongst the winds. Shri Krishna uses the word asmi. Who am I? Marichihi, which is a name for a type of wind. What's special about this is our rishis have analyzed that there's different types of winds. There's breezes, there's gale force winds, there's tornadoes, there's hurricanes, correct? Now, present-day scientists have been able to analyze this with equipments, things that measure speed, force. How did our rishis do this? If you understand the micro, as in the sacred, you automatically understand the macro, or the secular. What we can learn from the wind purifies. Whenever your house is stuffy, your car is stuffy, whenever your brain is stuffy, you open the window, you open the door, don't you feel more open then? That's why I like to teach outside. Eventually, it's too cold for this computer. It'll just shut down. And how we can practice being pure, talk about what's important. When you talk about that which is unimportant, you feel dirtier, smaller. And if it's not important, don't talk. That's why our silence retreats are the best. There's no practicality in our silence retreats. Practicality means I have to live for you to like me and so on and so forth. That's not practical. That's weakening. Finally, nakshatranam, which means the constellations. Aham, the greatest amongst the constellations, Shashi. Shashi means the moon. As you look up in the sky at night, which constellation do you see the most? The moon. It's the brightest, the most obvious. What we can learn from the moon is perspective. Perspective. Does the moon wax? Yes or no? Does the moon wane? The moon doesn't wax or wane. It's simply a perspective. Does your body wax? Mine is waxing big time. Does your body wane? Sure. Does your spirit wax and wane? It's just a perspective. Are you the body? Are you the spirit? What we can do to be like the moon is observe. The more you observe, the more you tune into the right perspective. Bhagwan Vamana, the sun, Marichihi, I don't know how to make that more personal. Just let's call it a breeze, okay? A breeze and the moon. So now when you experience this, though you're seeing it, I'm seeing the moon, I should be training myself to feel that is Sri Krishna. In that vibhuti is yoga. 4 out of 72, okay? Lots more to relate to. From inspiration to application. A recent application of yours was for you to help me with the camp I facilitated in Buffalo. And you helped me lots, which I appreciate. One seeker, Ragini from Raleigh, she wrote, God is for you. And so essentially you should pay it forward. You should be for others. What a thought. God is for us. So we should be for others in terms of forgiveness, in terms of help. That is a great way to be happiness. And what comes with that? You don't worry. And then another application of yours, as we approach the 400th verse, is to not be a personality that takes for granted. My observation with how to not take for granted, slow down. We are immersed in Kali. Kali means speed. With that comes conflict. So if I slow down, I will nurture more peace. Here's your application for this morning. Organize your mind and your notes well so you can track these 18 verses and each of the series of greatest, and what's the greatest amongst the great. Organize your mind and notes well. Create a framework, create a chart so that this is really impactful for you. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.